The Puck Portfolio with Andy McNeil.
Hey, welcome to the Puck Portfolio for Wednesday, April 9th. We are moving along here, approaching the NHL playoffs. I'm your host, Andy McNeil, and joining me, as always, Nick Burton from DFO. Nick, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm excited. Got a good slate here. Last night's was ugly. I don't usually get too tilted, but watching the Islanders collapse versus the Predators, I was just in shock. That's hard to believe. So yeah, hopefully tonight will bring us some better results.
Yeah, the Islanders can't make up their mind on what they want to do here, whether they want to push for the playoffs or push for a draft pick. And that is a bad spot to be in because in all likelihood, they're going to finish just outside the playoffs and not in a very good draft position, which I'm sure Islanders fans are probably not too happy about. I know one Islanders fan in particular that is not very happy about that, and that's our old friend Michael Leboff. But yeah, not a great night by any means. I came out on top of things, losing my play on Drake Batherson to score an anytime goal, and Timo Meier did not get over 3.5 shots. Finished with 2 shots in that big 7-2 win by the Boston Bruins. As you'll notice, I'm proudly wearing my my Boston Bruins hat tonight or today, sorry, after last night. David Pastrnak, third straight 100-point season. He is just, yeah. I mean, what can you say about Pastrnak without a number one center, not even a number two center to play with, and he's still getting it done. So, yeah, as long as Boston has him, I think there's still hope for a quick turnaround in terms of a rebuild. Fraser Minton getting his first goal as a Boston Bruin last night. Kind of the goal that you would expect from Minton, as he is has a reputation of being pretty good around the net front, and he corralled a rebound last night and put her up top shelf. So looking good there, but yeah, big win for the Boston Bruins. A lot easier than we thought it was, but we thought it could be a winnable game. But the 2 picks that I did come through on Val Nichushkin scoring an anytime goal at plus 175, and Connor Bedard getting there over 2.5 shots at plus 120. So that kind of saved me there. 5-game slate in the NHL tonight. And let's, I guess, kick it off with the 2 top teams in the Atlantic Division, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Tampa Bay Lightning, going head-to-head. The Lightning, they have gone 0-3 against the Maple Leafs so far this season, but, you know, they've got some big advantages here, I think, heading into this one. Obviously, Toronto played against Florida last night, and they're going to be tired heading into this one. 3-1 loss to the Panthers. They currently hold a 2-point lead over the Lightning for top spot in the Atlantic Division, and this is the start of a 4-game homestand for Tampa Bay. I don't know. I'll let you break things down, but I think in most areas, Tampa Bay has the edge going into this one.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like a fool for getting sucked into the Leafs once they hit plus 155 in the end last night, because clearly there was a reason why they got pumped pretty bad. And I knew, like, I've been fairly low on them the back half here. I don't really think they're better than last year at all. Honestly, I think the only difference, I guess you'd be pointing to, is that they do have way better goaltending. 3rd best save percentage over the last month, but most of their underlying numbers have been pretty bad. And when they've played good teams, we've talked about this a lot, like Florida, they tend to give up a ton of quality looks. Gave up 37 shots last night, 4 expected goals against, didn't generate much. And that's kind of been the going rate when they play good teams. They had that good game versus Florida last week, but we talked about how that was 3-4 for Florida, and the Panthers didn't have any of their guys. So yeah, I think it's been pretty unconvincing. If you look at all the Leafs' recent games versus good teams, it's pretty much been a really good goaltending performance if they have gotten a good result, or just not hanging around at all. So yeah, I actually think even at the current prices, I'm willing to bet the Lightning here. I think a regulation win at minus 115 is a solid bet. The Lightning have been excellent. I think this is the best team in the division, maybe the best team in the conference. You look, plus 74 goal differential, leads the conference. Their underlying results are really good. Goaltending's been great, and offense has been excellent. And I think beyond the underlying results, they're a team that can easily outperform expectations in terms of the goaltending they get and in terms of finishing chances at a higher rate than the numbers suggest they should. So I think there's a lot to like about the Lightning right now. Pretty sure I'm probably going to end up betting them whatever their first round series is, depending on the price. And yeah, I'm happy we added them to the cup right around the deadline because I think this team looks really good. So hopefully they'll show it tonight and take advantage of the Leafs.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, they really put up some nice underlying metrics here. They ranked 10th in expected goals and ninth in shot attempts at 5-on-5. Toronto, meanwhile, ranks 20th and 23rd in those categories, respectively. Talking year to date here, but both teams have been really good on offense this season, but Tampa Bay has been quite a bit better in that regard as well. They rank second in goals per 60 minutes this season and have been really good over the last month plus. And they also have been much better defensively than the Maple Leafs. As you alluded to, the Leafs has gotten some good goaltending, but only 3 teams have allowed fewer goals per 60 minutes than Tampa Bay this season. Toronto's been pretty average in that regard. And then you add in the rest advantage here. As I mentioned yesterday, home teams have won nearly 60% of the games in which they have more rest than the road teams. So that's pretty important here. You like a player prop in this one, as do I. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I like Point to get 3 shots here. I think it's a good spot. The Lightning are going 11-7, which works in favor of this a little bit as well. I think we should see Cooper really rely on his top 6. And this is a really big game. The Lightning still have a chance to win the division here. It'll be all tied up if they do win this game. So I think it's a good spot to target Point, who's been a big game player throughout his whole career, continues to get a lot of chances. He's at plus 110 to get 3 shots. And yeah, I feel like considering the spot, the likely usage, and that they are going 11-7, I'll probably play the top 6 a lot. It's pretty strong. And I should note as well that in earlier part, forgot to mention that Jake McCabe is going to miss this game, and he has been a huge piece on the back end. At various points in the year, we've been talking about how when he has been out, their defensive metrics have gotten even worse. He's been a huge piece of their best shutdown pairing with Chris Tanev, which has been an excellent pairing all season long. So yeah, that definitely hurts as well in this back-to-back spot, playing without probably their second best defender there.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Point's been really good for the Lightning. Nikita Kucherov, he's been really hot as well. Since February 23rd, no player has recorded more points than Kucherov. He's got 9 goals and 24 assists in his last 21 games. He's also registered at least 1 point in 10 of his last 11 games against the Maple Leafs. 8 goals and 11 assists against Toronto since the start of the 2021-22 season. He's got 36 shots on goal in his last 7 games against the Maple Leafs. He's gone over 3.5 shots on goal in 6 of those 7 games. So I decided to go with Kucherov 4+ shots at plus 135. I guess our bets kind of conflict here because it's
I don't know
hard to see everybody getting the shots, but I think there's also a chance that at least one of us will hit our shot prop tonight.
Yeah, that is one way of looking at it. But honestly, I actually think I wouldn't say they oppose too badly because the thing is, you still are just hoping for them to spend a lot of time attacking, get a lot of shot attempts.
Absolutely.
I know in the NFL, there's times where people think this it's negative correlation having 2 guys on the same offense. A lot of times those things actually work together. And I think it's probably the same with the lines if you really dove into the data, because I think ultimately you're kind of banking on them having that offensive zone time and a good night.
Yeah, absolutely. Big game for the New York Rangers, who are pretty much out of it at this point. They are in Philadelphia taking on the Flyers, or hosting the Flyers, sorry. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to see them so far out of it. But I don't really want to talk about the Rangers here. I just want to talk about the Montreal Canadiens for a second, who are currently holding on to that second wildcard spot. Their lead has grown quite a bit. The Rangers 79 points, the Canadiens 87 points. The Rangers do have a game in hand, but it's time is pretty much run out on New York. But big news out of Montreal yesterday as Ivan Demidov, coming over from the KHL, is going to join the Canadiens before the end of the regular season. He signed his entry-level contract, and will be a part of this playoff run for Montreal. So that's big news. Not just in Montreal, but throughout the whole NHL. I think it was the biggest story to break in a while, I guess, since the trade deadline. What do you think we should expect here with Demidov coming to the Canadiens?
Yeah, I hated seeing this news as a Caps fan. And you talk about the Rangers. I wanted the Rangers as a Caps fan because I think, as much as Montreal kind of has their flaws, even last night, you could see Detroit really poured it on them. They've got the goaltending. They've got no pressure. They've been great in the second half. So I think they're definitely a scarier opponent than the Rangers. And I think Demidov has a great chance of coming over and making an immediate impact. We've seen this from these highly touted guys coming over from the KHL. So, I'm not excited about it. They'll probably be able to give him a pretty good leash in the top 6 here. And I think he's more than capable of making a difference. He was pretty dominant in the KHL this year. If anything, definitely was misused. Obviously, I think that got well covered at times, that the Canadiens didn't really love the way he was getting deployed, and it wasn't an ideal situation with them not really controlling his development. But
yeah,
I think that's all out the window now, and probably could come over and be a pretty effective player right away. So yeah, as a Caps fan, I was not excited to see it at all. Jake, our producer, knows that. I messaged him right away. I was like, oh God, here we go. So yeah, I didn't like seeing that. But will be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be really exciting. I think the Habs right now are a really fun team to watch. I just don't like the way it's setting up with them. Going to be a heavy underdog that probably is very live to win in round 1 versus the Caps.
Yeah, absolutely. Demidov, I believe, led his team in assists and in scoring this season. So pretty special player coming over.
I think those games he was getting next to no minutes. There was a few times where he got in the lineup and they barely put him out there. I should note, while we're dunking on the Rangers too, and give myself some credit, one positive last night that it didn't feel like as much of a positive because I've been banking on winning this bet for a long time. But the Capitals to win the division at 40-1 did officially get home. So hopefully some people played that from the summer, because I'm obviously pretty pumped on that one, pretty proud of it. So yeah, good to see they got it done there.
The other 2 games tonight, the San Jose Sharks and the Minnesota Wild, of course, big one for the Wild, as they've got to get some points on the board and keep the Calgary Flames at bay here, who are in action tonight against the Anaheim Ducks on the road in Anaheim. But with an Oilers win and a Flames loss, Calgary would be officially eliminated from playoff contention. So yeah, could see some more teams on their way out this evening. Any thoughts on the Wild game or the Flames game?
Yeah, I saw the Wild look like they were going to get Eric Sinek and Kaprizov back. So that's not great news for the Flames there. They're obviously a humongous favorite versus the Sharks. So hopefully I want to see the Flames get in. I don't really have any attachment to the Wild at this point. I think the Flames are kind of lovable. I think it would at least be fun. Hopefully the Flames can win tonight, because they play the Wild on Friday, which would make that game at least pretty interesting.
For sure.
But I mean, it could be. I think the Ducks are going to give the Flames a pretty tough game tonight. So I do like the Ducks to win the first period at plus 115. I think it's a solid bet. I feel like it's going to be a lot closer to a coin flip. I don't hate them to win the game, but we've seen so consistently this Flames team come out with slow starts and then pour it on in the third and find their game, that I actually kind of like taking the slightly lower number for the Ducks to just win the first period. I think you could kind of see some of the Flames' problems versus the Sharks. They've competed really hard recently, and I do think they've defended a lot better. But I feel like overall their offensive upside is really capped right now, with Zary out and Pospisil out now as well. Klapka did a really good job filling in on that top line in the third period of the Sharks game, but I feel like overall those losses do hurt. And I think we've seen the Ducks can be pretty scrappy right now. They've played out the stretch respectively, 5-4-1 over the last 10. I think there's kind of a lot to like about the Ducks right now. I actually think they have more offensive upside than the Flames. Obviously not as good of a team defensively, but they've got great goaltending as well. And I think we could see them kind of surprise a little bit here tonight and play a scrappy role. So at plus 115, I do think taking them to win the first period is a decent bet. You could do the first period 3-way as well. It's another one of those plays where my recommendation would be looking at whatever book you're betting on and comparing the prices relative to other books that aren't at your disposal sometimes can be a good way to determine those, because you can just see, if you're getting if you're getting a price that's, kind of an outlier one way or the other. So yeah, I think that's a solid look on this game.
Yeah, and my next pick, I'm kind of regretting it at this point because earlier this morning when I wrote my Oilers Blues preview for OilersNation.com, I went with the tie plus 310, and I still think it's a good look. It's a good strategy here. I mean, 5 of the last 9 meetings between the Blues and the Oilers have gotten to overtime. I think Edmonton's offensive ceiling is sort of capped here, so I think it's going to be a pretty close game. We talked a little bit earlier, and like you said, I mean, I don't think the Oilers have played bad necessarily over this stretch without McDavid or Draisaitl. In fact, I think they've picked it up quite a bit, and they've shown that they've maybe got a little bit more depth than we were giving them credit for earlier in the season, because their depth scoring really wasn't there. But this one has moved quite a bit with St. Louis now listed at plus 125 here at Bet365, and I think if that was the price earlier this morning, they were down at plus 105 in that range. I would have just went with the Blues on the money line, and that's what you're doing here, right?
Yeah, I do like the tie too, which is scary because I just know if the Blues get into overtime, they'll get crushed the way it's going for me. But
Yeah.
I texted you when I woke up and was surprised at the line movement, and I was wondering if you had any news on Draisaitl, McDavid, Ekholm, all these guys, because for this price to move that much was really surprising to me. We both paid a lot of attention to the Oilers recently, and I think the consensus take should rightfully be that they've probably proven some good things in the time that McDavid and Draisaitl have been out of the lineup. I think overall their processes looked really good. They played well in Vegas. They played well in a lot of their recent matchups. I thought they did really good in that game where we had Dallas and they lost. So I feel like if anything, they have proven plenty, but the goaltending is still a huge concern right now. The Blues have been quite excellent. I think that Jets game was probably the only one where you're really actually concerned about the process, and it still wasn't an overly bad performance by any means. So
Yeah.
I think overall the Blues have been legitimately good. It hasn't just been a lucky heater at all. And with McDavid and Draisaitl out, Pickard in goal, who's been fairly hit or miss, I don't really see how this is the price. I think this game's should be priced a lot more evenly. Like I said, when I woke up and it was initially plus 105 and I looked at it, I didn't bat an eye. I was just like, yeah, that makes sense. Seems fair.
Yeah.
So kind of surprised to see this line movement. I thought for sure it was going to mean a surprise return from Draisaitl or a couple of those guys, but it sounds like that's not the case.
Yeah. Last I looked just before we started the show, and I'm going to check again here. All right. Stuart Skinner will not be backing up. Nugent Hopkins doubtful for tonight. Illness. They're going to be going with 11 forwards and 60 for the second straight game. Calvin Pickard is going to start. Yeah. And McDavid, Draisaitl, Ekholm, and Skinner were all on the ice this morning, but none of them are expected to play here tonight versus St. Louis. So yeah, and with Nugent Hopkins out of the lineup, this price seems really strange if you ask me, and I guess you would agree too. I really wish I hadn't locked in that tie already, because I think the Blues would be a great play at plus 125. So obviously, like you said, the Blues had their franchise record-setting 12-game win streak snapped on Monday in Winnipeg. 3-1 loss to the Jets. You could kind of see that coming at some point. On such a run, there's going to be a letdown at some point. And the Blues just really didn't seem to be on their game on that night. So they'll continue this 3-game road trip. 4-game road trip with stops in Edmonton and Seattle before returning home to close out the season versus the Utah Hockey Club. So there's 3 games remaining for the Blues here. Oilers back at Rogers Place after back-to-back losses, a 3-0 shutout against the Los Angeles Kings, a 3-2 loss to the Anaheim Ducks. Like I said, these two teams have played a lot of close games. They've split their last 10 meetings. The Oilers, however, have won both meetings against the Blues this season, 4-2 on December 7th, 3-2 in overtime on February 4th. Blues missing a couple of key players as well, mainly Dylan Holloway. Of course, defenseman Colton Parayko has been sidelined for a while now. He hasn't played since March 5th. But Holloway has missed the last 2 games, and he's been great this season. Ranked second on the team in goals with 26, third in points with 63. But the Blues still have quite a bit of offense here. They have been among the best offensive teams in the league here for a while. Only one team has scored more goals per 60 minutes than St. Louis over the past 9 weeks. This despite the team ranking among the bottom 10 in both shot attempts and expected goals per 60 minutes. So, I mean, I think, it has been a bit of a shooting percentage bender here for the Blues, but you look at them, on the defensive side of things, and only 5 teams have allowed fewer expected goals in that time, and that kind of explains the fact that they rank 6th in goals per 60, not just due to luck here. So they've gotten great goaltending, great defense, and they rank 10th in expected goals percentage and 9th in shot share at 5-on-5 since the start of February. And they've also been deadly on the power play here, ranking among the top 10 teams on the man advantage dating back to January 1st. So they've converted on 26% of their opportunities, and I think they've been a bit better in recent months. So lot to like here about the St. Louis Blues, not so much the Edmonton Oilers, especially now with Nugent Hopkins out with an illness or questionable due to an illness. But I considered, a player prop on Robert Thomas here. I mean, he's been next to Nikita Kucherov. He's been the hottest player in the NHL over the last 2 months and change. He's been really good under Jim Montgomery. Of course, he had a real struggle to score goals at the start of the season, but he's come on over the last 3 or 4 months, and he's now got 21 goals, 76 points in 67 games, and yeah, he's been really good over the last month or 2. So. But yeah, I guess I'm going to stick with the tie plus 323 here, and hope that despite the Oilers' injuries, we get a close game.
Yeah, I mean, they've been looking like they can keep it close without those guys, and that's kind of been looking like their MO. They obviously don't have the offensive upside right now, so yeah, I do like that. And yeah, I mean, the Blues.
Now your 3 top centers though out of the lineup. Yeah. That's pretty tough.
The Blues have been lucky for sure during their 13-game winning streak. You're not going to find a team in the NHL that they're not going to sort of a PD, but they've been legitimately very good, and they'll be a tough out in the playoffs. We've talked about it, but I think Parayko is getting closer. I saw you skating a couple days ago, so sounds like decent chance he'd be back in round 1. And I don't think he's probably as good as his reputation suggests, but at the same time, you look at their third pairing right now, it's Ryan Suter and Tucker. So yeah, I think there's plenty of room if they want to just put him in, whether it even ends up being playing as many minutes as he was pre-injury or what. I think that could be a huge get for them. So they'll be a really tough out. And I'm happy with them here at this number.
Yeah, it looks like they'll play the Vegas Golden Knights unless the standings change here in round 1. And I mean, the Jets maybe going to luck out here with either a matchup versus the Calgary Flames or the Minnesota Wild. Either one of those. I think
and very deserved.
For sure.
You win the President's Trophy, you should get that. But even the Wild, it's not.
Presumably they'll have Kirill Kaprizov back at
and Eck and healthier blue line. So it seems like they're definitely just worse than I thought they were when they were on that heater at the start of the year, regardless of who's in the lineup. But might not be a complete tap in if they're back at full strength.
And the Ottawa Senators, I guess before we get going, we'll just talk a little bit about the Senators who clinched a playoff spot on Tuesday, and right now setting up the Battle of Ontario, which first time back in the playoffs in 8 seasons. That would be something else.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, and it's my futures have done really good this year. It's been a tough year on sides, but futures have been great. And another one that hit there was the Senators. Can't quite pat myself on the back because I think I bet it both the previous 2 years, but they got it done at plus 130 this season.
So. It's like Elliot Friedman. I want to know how many years in a row he's picked the Senators to make the playoffs.
I think that's
he's like Senators playoffs. He's like, Come on, man. You can't pat yourself on the back for that. You just
No. Yeah, I can't take that much credit. They were horrible to me last year, but they got it done. And yeah, I'm excited. I hope it's the Battle of Ontario, but we'll see. That little pack of 4 teams there is still really tightly grouped.
Yeah. But yeah, it should be fun race to the NHL playoffs. We will be back on Thursday to break down a big, how many games on Thursday? 10 games again on Thursday. So we'll be back on Thursday right here on the DFO Fantasy and Betting YouTube channel to break that all down for you from a betting perspective. But until then, good luck with your bets and gamble responsibly.